Hey guys, how's it going, folks? Now, this is Linda Builder. Now, I know you guys may be saying, geez, this is the first time you're wearing sunglasses. The thing is that I've suffered conjunctivitis. It's very, very maroon red here compared to that one that's white. So, yeah, I had to wear my glasses my second week, and that's not stopping me to drop some videos and a bit of let's talk about property as a topic. Um, in my channel, I try to tell you as the truth as what is my personal experience and everything. And fortunately, today I have to wear sunglasses. May not have that sort of the honest way of doing it, but you guys have to bear in mind. I have conjunctivitis. I'm very, very sensitive to light. That's why. And you guys like to see a bright video. Okay. Okay. Let's do the video. You see, I like to talk about property. Property is it's something that is it's always been in the Chinese blood of talking about it. And if this time when there's a housing crash, the fingers will point directly straight towards the Chinese. And I'm not gonna say who's right or who's wrong, and they deserve to say that. Okay. Now, if you look back in the history, I'm only speaking on Australia in behalf. I can't speak on other countries. Um, when the Jews, large migrants of Jews, Greeks, Italian, when they first emerged to Melbourne, they run businesses, they go up with their labours, they enter with a labour shortage, and they bought lands, they bought acres of lands. And back then, they were like the Chinese, what they were doing. They go there, they bought, they bought, they bought, they bought. It's like monopoly. Now, God knows what's the banking is like back then. Okay. A couple of days ago, Australia has reduced to all-time low interest rate, 1% RBA, and there's going to be another cut. Okay. When I'll also put a link down below. I haven't added it out, but I'll put it out now. Is that you have to go through a 50 years or actually 200 or 100 years of actually, I think it's 100 years of interest rate, how it actually became, and now we're down to one. You see, when my dad bought my property, because of first home own grant, it was under 7.78% interest rate. Now, I'm very, very touched on this topic. It's very hard to the core because many people says why Chinese people have money. Chinese is always think ahead and advance on the next generation and as well with the grandkids generation. They wanted to have the best of the best that they can deliver through the family tree structure, right? Because that is their only tribe of family. If we closely look at, I know recent years we've gone to baby, to have loosen up to two babies, but before we had this long gone of this one child policy. And if you put four grandparents, right? For example, your grandparents and you're the girl grandparents, mom and dad, and my parents, grandparents, mom and dad as well, and down to two, me and you, down to one child. So four, two, one, and all that wealth from four goes to two, and two down to one. And when that one married to another one, it's going for the same phase. Four, two, one. You have this large of four, you got 8, 12, right? You got 12 families of wealth go from six. You got from 6 families wealth down to you. You got 6 family wealth down to you, and you're not married based on love. You're married based on survival. Who has the most wealth? If you have a high socioeconomic, you have very good education, you kind of understand the drill. And I don't want to mention about it anymore. And now, you know, that's one part. I don't know why I'm mentioning about this, but I think to you guys may be helpful. Um, you see, the early 2010s, you see this massive rise of property around the globe, right? I'm only speaking on Australia, right? You see, when my dad purchased the property, it was the beginning phase of the real housing boom, like the real of the real. We have we've learned our experience with the 2008 and 9. My dad has lost a lot of money on that, but somehow he broke the even. But we've seen how the houses went and how the game works. And this is where I have to stop and tell you guys this is the beginning of the topic. If you guys reached this far, thank you. 6 minutes. And I have to tell you a bit of history behind because if you don't, then pretty much. The bank loaning is very loosely. And I remember my father told me when the Barack Obama and then the bank loosening in America and Australia, it was to take an advantage. Everyone has to jump in on board. Australia, there's nothing going on. We don't have much in our country. We have raw minerals underneath our ground, but we have very. China's not taking much, buying much from Australia anymore. They're going for Africa or South America to get more minerals, a lot more cheaper price, a lot more friendlier price than ours. Um, Chinese people always know that the Australian has kind of ripped the Chinese off. We're buying expensive coal in the past. That's the sort of view they have right now. And you know, they have the most of the most that you have. Now Australia we only have housing, then you have university, then you have tourism, right? These are the strong areas. Now, of course, you have the loose with the visas, and as well when Kevin Rudd has introduced the millionaire visa. Or before it wasn't a millionaire, it was like a $500,000 visa. So that is basically saying that if you have 500,000 when the first Kevin Rudd first introduced, it was pretty much saying that if you have 500,000 point to the Australia, we will give you permanent residency on the spot without any tests or further or any waiting queues. As long as you use that money, invest in Australia. When that scheme was introduced, the whole China went in. And it was a stage where money, and you guys have to understand where is there that many millionaires or millionaires in China? There's a lot of millionaires, but we have to understand where all this money come from. It doesn't need the transaction record, things like that. They can borrow money from the bank. They don't need to, pretty much everyone can forgery on their pay slips and their taxes and things like that, and employments to get into the jobs, right? That was the brokers era of forgery, for the big banks. This large amount of money was drawn by a lot of the money laundry and money under the table, gambling, perhaps drug dealing or gang money. These money are coming from a very different stream. Now, it was once become illegal, now it became legal money. China has banned it in Macau, so those who does not know, Macau is like the Las Vegas, the only Las Vegas of Australia, in China. So like a little small puny city. It was a place for money laundry. You win, that money becomes clean. You lose, you lose. You win, you win. It was a gamble. And we live in this era that we have very loose bank, as besides saying Australia has three AAA rating on the credit. It was very loose lending. We have a very great credit as well, and we were lending out of money. Gosh, who's calling? Sorry, it's my auntie. Okay, now let's get back to the topic. Now you understand where's this money coming from. Now a lot of you hear a lot of news in Australia that there's a lot of these investors bought houses and left them empty, where a family. would have won and would have used it for family purpose instead of leaving it empty. Many Chinese people believe that many leaving it empty is the cause of, um, if you rent it out, there's a lot of damages or things like that, wear and tear. Or there's another most common one is get a heritage house or a good house and knock it down and build it brand new. So there's a long expectancy of this property, and as well, if values goes up, if it's a brand new house, right? Because like a brand new mansion, and leave it empty. A lot of them leave it like that because it's a lot safe, hassle. They got the money. All they need to do is pay the council rate and things like that. It's bananas. Until when the government stamped in and introduced a 20% on money fines on those who are leaving the house property empty. So you got that. So what is this related to the topic of this title? You see, when people bought houses back then, it was for themselves, for the family to live in, and they save a lot amount of money, right? And you have that now. Cost of living is going up, and as well, housing is going up and up and up because you have a loose lending. Back then, if you want to buy a house, you have a certain largely amount of deposit, or perhaps you're coming from middle or higher class socioeconomic, right? Or usually higher class or owners. You get the first preference on getting a property. But when we enter the phase of early 2010s, things has changed. Ranking criteria restriction has changed. It was more of the low income and middle income can buy a house. Those could chase the Australia dream. I'm pretty sure this sounds familiar to many of you guys out there. And I have this conversation with why people are so addicted and naive in getting into property. Well, first things first is whether they're newly arrived migrant or skilled migrant in Australia. A lot of them goes in and buy and chase the Australia dream. Why not? Why wouldn't I need to work hard or save that much money, or 50% or 20 or 30 or 40%, and buy the house where I can borrow it now with 5%? And with that, I can refinance the money and borrow more money and to buy, the dream car that you wanted, or dream swimming pool in the backyard, or whatever it is. You can see nowadays on the lending restriction has crushed the car industry in today's world, where we have a record breaking in the lowest of the lowest new cars being purchased per year in Australia because of the lending, and the refinance is very hard and harder than ever than before. People are addicted to debt, and it's becoming a debt bomb. That's why we have to reduce the interest rate. If we do not reduce the interest rate, then it's like a breathing for mortgage um, borrowers to breathe on. It wasn't really that much a big deal. When you breathe on that, then it's like a lose. Job and insecurity is skyrocketed. Underemployment has skyrocketed, and yet we're still faking our numbers on the unemployment rate and where we have employment. Many people out there having three jobs. There's no such thing. Many people out there. It's common to hear having one full time job. Securing one full time job is very hard in today's world, where you has to be very, very. You got to be very, very machine like working brain that you have. It's mean that you must have a very, very good brain cells to able function. I don't know why. So you have that. So all I'm trying to say is that there's many things that's going on. We're addicted to debt. Why people are so naive, jump in the market, they don't care because they believe the market keep going up, 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 up. Until the 2017 and the 16, we see the Chinese government has capped all Chinese to withdraw money out of the country. The only money that they could spend annually is 20,000 US dollars. Australia banks, big four banks, has capped for loaning out investors, not giving them approval loans. So you have that, right? And when you have that, that was another thing. This is why I said they have to reduce the interest rate. Who is the Australians is competing on buying this house? Who's driving this market price, market value up? Yes, it was 50% foreign buyers and 50% locals who drive the market price up. But it's easy to blame China anyway. Um, what I can say is that now you lost the 50% who literally drive the market up. Now you got the 50% of Aussies, locals, who try to compete one another for survival. Shit. No refinance money. Shit. No personal loan. Shit. They're running cash low. Honestly, who the fuck has $1,000 per week just for interest only? I'm saying just for under 1 million, just for $1 million property. All right, if you borrow 95%, you have to give nine, or not much amount of money. Oh gosh, my eyes is playing up already. So that's why I said this video is not, and many of them has bought many houses, and many of them has understand that houses were not only just an investment or asset, but also you can rent it out. Many of them has took advantage to build more rooms or legal rooms. I've done those jobs and I know what's like. Many of them has drive the market up so high. He has never imagined that the property prices nowadays is costing that money. That it's costing that much. Now it's on decline or stable. The price tags of the property. God knows how long is that gonna go, but lowering the interest rate will help in a short term. It's just giving the. It's like me saying I'm giving my hand out, giving you help, but not for long term. The government, the banks, they kind of knew it. This is gonna happen. It was an era of money laundering. It was an era of everything to come and go. And I feel sorry for those who have borrowed many money or borrow over their capacity or their income earning. And they are struggling and it's hard to sleep at night. I'm sorry that I'm using not the great words because I'm shutting my eyes. My eyes are gone already. Oh my god, it's gone already. Okay, it hurts bad. It tears up as well. That's why many of them who bought many houses and buy and flip them, whether they're renovating or left them there, just rent it out, in a couple of years they sell it. It was a golden era of Australia on certain property, just like that. It wasn't meant for anyone to get to that stage. But somehow we have attracted a lot of people around the world, even coming to Australia. When I do speak to people who has owned a property, I say who still I can't say has, who still currently own a property, they have no idea what I'm saying about AAA rating. Once we lose our AAA rating, our interest rate will skyrocket like what we have experienced in Australia since 1987. The recession that we must have, 1990. That's when my parents just came to Australia, 1988. So that's why I said to you guys, is this is going to be a big burn for a lot of people. Um, we cannot sustain this economy from housing. Just keep going up, borrow more debt, more debt, more debt, more debt. And when you can't borrow anymore, this is when it tumbles. And I had to learn this topic when I was learning my social work degree, and I forgot that wording, and I wish I can record it by more professional terminology. But we are addicted to debt. Let's just put it that way. We wanted to have the lifestyle. We don't want to left behind. Everyone wants the house. Everyone wants Mercedes. Everyone wants that. Because it's like in the thin air. We're allowed to do that. It's like swiping the card left, right, and center. You don't see cash going in or out. So yeah, when there's low interest rate, people goes crazy with debt, out of their minds. They go above and beyond. They lose their mind. When there's high interest rate, people make very, very wise and caution decision on what they're doing. We have low interest rate, everyone just go berserk and crazy about it. This is what I said. Many of them are very addicted, naive. Now, I'll put a couple of links down below what is related nowadays. Now, today, to borrow to get a loan, they look at your bank statement and what you spend every single dollar and what do you save. Back then, they don't see that. They close a blind eye and they just prove you the loan and say, rent a couple of rooms now. Nowadays, they look at your bank account. How do you spend? Do you go Uber Eats? Do you go Uber? Do you go to watch the movies? Do you go to your sporting events? This and that. Every single dollar counts. And as well, I walked past to a shopping center with my missus the other day and realized there's a sign stating that you can purchase a property if you have 20% superannuation and 80% bank loan. So could you imagine that? A $500,000 property, all you need is $100,000 super, and that house is yours. But it kind of makes sense because you build that money up and you have employment history. You pay taxes and things like that. Everything has to be recorded on the books. So you have that. And I'll put the link down. That's where the realestate.com, where it stated like what are the types that you should be eligible for. And another one is the $5,000 that the house is yours, Metricon. I'll put the link down below because it's been putting advertisement a lot on YouTube lately. And I don't know what's the criteria, but that is a very, very wrong message of selling a house. They don't care will you suffer or anything. All they care is making a sale. Obviously, there's got to be criteria. First home grant. So that would be great for first home owner grant. But the super is more for those who are rich folks, close to retiree. What's their dream house? They can do that. Now lending money is more for high class, high profession jobs. Those who works for doctors, lawyers, engineers, profession, very high salary. If you and your missus earn that much amount of money, you can get to that stage, buy a house. That's the video of the day, and I hope you guys understand. The high profession, when they own their property, those are the real properties, not the ones nowadays. You buy multiple properties because buy multiple properties, it's just for the future. It's we're faking it, and that's why we drive the market up because we see the returns of the rental bond and things like that, and the housing. We believe the housing market keep going up, up, up. It was debt driven the whole thing. High profession, they think more than twice. They think very deeply. And guess what? Those other guys will never buy a house anyway because they wish the housing market crash. It's the ones that jump in the market do not wish it was their nightmare.